My painting won an award, but the signature on it was that of my mother's adopted daughter. On the day the adopted daughter took the stage to receive the award, my mother insisted on leaving me, who was critically ill, to give her flowers. In the end, I lay on the hospital bed in the intensive care unit, dying in pain and loneliness. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the night my mother stole the painting for love. I smiled as I lit a fire and burned all the works in the studio. This time, it's their turn to go to hell. Xiaoji, Mian can't go on stage to receive her award without her mother giving her flowers. She'll be laughed at. By the hospital bed, my mother anxiously pushed my hand away. After saying that, she ignored the doctor's attempts to keep her and hurried away, clutching a bouquet of lilies. Under the sympathetic gazes of those around me, I smiled weakly and self-mockingly. The patient's heart has stopped. Get the defibrillator. Lu Ji's family isn't answering the phone. In the chaos and panic, I closed my eyes with resentment. Bang! The vase fell, scattering delicate lilies across the floor. I stood in the familiar art studio, as if awakening from a dream. Could it be that I have been reborn? The studio was silent, and not far away stood the painting that was like a nightmare to me, Redemption. I poured my heart and soul into creating it for a domestic art exhibition in my previous life, but the painting mysteriously disappeared the night before it was to be sent out. After missing the exhibition, my anxiety worsened, and I could no longer paint. Meanwhile, my mother's adopted daughter, Lu Mian, secretly won a gold award with this painting and was even admitted to a prestigious art university. Until I was severely injured and unconscious, I learned that it was they who had stolen my painting back then. In this life, it's your turn to go to hell. Thinking of those two, I smiled and lit a large piece of gauze from the corner. With a sudden toss of my hand, sparks scattered, growing fiercer by the moment. Soon the flames engulfed all the paintings, large and small, in the room, burning the scattered lilies on the floor to ashes. Before leaving, after some hesitation, I still took the painting titled Redemption with me. The next day, I leisurely sat at the dining table, sipping soy milk. A few fresh, blooming lilies were placed at the corner of the table. The door was pushed open, and my mother came in with Lu Mian. Their expressions anxious and grave. Xiaoji, the art studio caught fire, and all your paintings are gone. I looked up, enjoying the complexity of their expressions, feeling quite pleased. Why did you go to the art studio, Mom? And I thought you were painting and came to check on you. Lu Mian's expression was extremely unnatural as she stammered out a quiet explanation, her hands, hanging at her sides, nervously twisted at the hem of her clothes. Check on me? Did you go steal a painting? I nodded slowly and calmly, continuing to silently sip my soy milk. The atmosphere was silent, and Lu Mian nervously bit her lower lip, looking to the side for help. Seeing this, my mother patted her back comfortingly and stepped forward, pretending to be concerned. Xiaoji, the exhibition is tomorrow. Will you be able to finish your painting in time? I will. I took the painting home last night and finished it. I smiled gently and brought out Redemption from behind me to show them. They immediately gathered around, their eyes filled with unconcealed amazement. Little sister Xiaoji, does it have a name? Lu Mian carefully touched the picture frame, her face filled with possessiveness. I casually took a few more sips of soy milk and thought for a moment. It's called Rebirth. On the broad canvas, a decadent silhouette is vaguely outlined. The person's face is indistinct, standing in the firelight like a moth to the flame. This is my rebirth. Great, the name sounds good. And the painting is beautiful. Xiaoji is amazing. My mother held the painting in her arms with satisfaction, as if she had a new idea. She exchanged a few knowing glances with Lu Mian and cleared her throat. Xiaoji, how about Mom helps you mail the painting? No need, I'll go downstairs and mail it in a bit. I shook my head and set down the soy milk, reaching out towards the painting. Unexpectedly, Lu Mian reacted strongly, pulling my mother back several steps. No, sister. What's wrong with you? My hand paused mid-air, reaching for the painting. Looking somewhat awkward, I furrowed my brow, pretending to be puzzled as I looked at her, trying to suppress the smile that was about to rise. They didn't manage to steal the painting last night, and now they're definitely going to tamper with mine. This is quite interesting. Xiaoji, eat your breakfast properly. Let me and your sister help you send it. Don't you trust us? My mother forced a stiff, unnatural smile and walked towards the entrance without waiting for a response, as if a loving mother, determined to help her child. Lu Mian hurried to catch up, afraid that I would chase after her. Just before she left, she turned back and gave me a rather smug look. All right then, be careful. Realizing this, I had to raise my voice with concern and caution. You all better be careful. If you dare to step on me to climb to the clouds. Be prepared to fall and shatter into pieces. Hello, excuse me, is this Miss Lu Ji? When their figures disappeared, I finally picked up the incessantly buzzing phone. A man's indifferent voice came from the other end. Miss Lu, your painting, New Birth, has been sent to Berlin for the competition, kept completely confidential as per your request. Thank you. The game officially begins. A month later, the results of the domestic art exhibition were announced. When my mother came back with Lu Mianmian, I had just opened the award letter sent by the organizing committee. Congratulations, sister, your painting won an award. Lu Ji, what are you doing? Seeing the item in my hand, Lu Mianmian's face changed drastically, and she screamed as she rushed over. After snatching the award letter, she immediately looked at me with the utmost vigilance, as if facing a great enemy. Sister, I'm just so happy for you. What does it say? I didn't get a chance to read it yet. I spread my hands, innocently tilting my head as I explained. I lied to her. I saw it, award-winning work, new beginnings, signature, Lu Mianmian, but perhaps I disguised myself too naturally, and Lu Mianmian believed me. She breathed a heavy sigh of relief at that moment. My mother walked over after setting down the vegetable basket, happily patting her head. That's great, Mianmian is so amazing. The guaranteed admission is now secure. Thank you, Mom, I love you so much. Lu Mianmian excitedly hugged my mother, and the mother and daughter embraced each other intimately. I just stood quietly to the side, like an outsider in the family. Since that's the case, then I won't let them have their way. Sister, can I go with you to see the award ceremony tomorrow? I suddenly stepped forward and interrupted, my eyes filled with anticipation. Upon hearing my words, my mother and Lu Mianmian's expressions instantly stiffened, frozen in place. If I were to go to the scene, the switch of the dragon and phoenix would be discovered. Lu Mianmian frowned and came over, gently taking my arm. Xiaoji, there will be so many people at this event. Will your anxiety disorder act up? Your health is the most important thing. Your sister is right, Xiaoji, you should stay home and rest. Seeing that I didn't agree, my mother also chimed in. The two of them exchanged knowing glances, skillfully blocking my path. But this little trick is still far from enough. Mom, sister, I'm feeling much better lately. If you don't take me, I'll go by myself. I pretended to be angry and pushed Lu Mianmian's hand away, ready to search for the route to the art exhibition. Lu Mianmian stomped her feet, anxiously pacing around. My mom quickly came up to confiscate my phone, smiling extremely kindly. You silly child, we didn't say we wouldn't take you. Why are you getting angry all the time? But, Mom, it's settled then. Tomorrow, we'll take Xiaoji with us. My mother interrupted Lu Mianmian's hesitation, giving her a reassuring look in secret. During dinner that evening, my mother brought over a bowl of soup. You've worked hard these past few days. Even though this painting didn't win an award, we'll try harder next time. In Mom's heart, Xiaoji will always be the best. She placed the hot soup in front of me and reached out to gently pat my head with affection. The aroma of chicken soup wafted to my nose, and I lowered my head, hiding the emotions in my eyes. There are crushed peanuts in this, and I'm allergic to peanuts, so that's what they were planning. In her eagerly anticipating eyes, I smiled and drank spoon by spoon. Thank you, Mom. Xiaoji is so well behaved. As expected, I started to have an allergic reaction that night, with red rashes all over my face, so the next morning, they left me behind without a second thought to attend the award ceremony. Before leaving, my mother was still holding a large bouquet of fresh lilies. Lu Mianmian's face was glowing with health, making her delicate features appear even more pure and charming. I waved goodbye with a smile as they left, admiring their radiant figures from behind. It wasn't until they were out of sight that I returned to my room, drew the curtains, and waited quietly in the darkness. Soon after, a sharp siren sounded from downstairs. The darkened screen lit up. It was the police calling. Is this Lu Ji? Your family has been in a car accident. How could this be? How could an accident happen? I pretended to be panicked, my voice even hoarse. The red monthly rose on the windowsill was broken, its thorns piercing my fingertip, blood flowing. This was my favorite flower, but ever since my mother adopted Mianmian Lu, only lilies ever appeared in our home. Even my studio, she filled with lilies. The car's brake line was old and not properly maintained. It failed, and they hit a telephone pole at the corner. The police officer on the other end clearly and logically analyzed the cause of the accident. I raised my hand to cover the receiver, unable to hold back a wide smile as I laughed happily alone in the darkness. Brake line failure, that's just great. They really couldn't figure it out. They've been taken away in an ambulance now. Luckily, the car wasn't going fast, so nothing serious happened. Yeah, I understand. The phone call ended. and the room fell into a long silence. I lifted the tightly covered canvas and boldly smeared bright red colors onto it. A painting nurtured by hatred is bound to be beautiful. What a pity, it didn't die in the crash, but fortunately, we have plenty of time ahead of us. Although she couldn't attend the award ceremony due to a car accident, Lu Mianmian still secured a spot at the Central Academy of Fine Arts by winning the award. After being discharged from the hospital, my mother made a big show of hosting a celebration banquet for her. The banquet was booked at a hotel in the city center, and my mother sent invitations to all kinds of relatives. She and Lu Mianmian wore identical green cheongsam dresses, standing side by side at the door to greet guests, looking like real mother and daughter. "Didn't you say this party was for Xiaoji? Who is this then?" An elegant middle-aged woman was courteously welcomed in by my mother, but she didn't take her seat. Instead, she stood in place, scrutinizing Lu Mianmian from head to toe. Lu Mianmian's expression stiffened, and her smile froze on her lips. She hung her head in grievance, and my mother immediately took her hand with tender concern, introducing her in a fawning manner. "Sister Lu, I was saying that I'm holding a banquet for my daughter. This is Mianmian, she's also my daughter. Mianmian, call her Auntie Lu." I sat in the corner, my arms crossed, watching the scene unfold with amusement. The woman she called Sister Lu is my father's biological sister. Since the divorce, my mother has rarely interacted with people from that side, but Lu Yi is a well-known art curator in the industry and knows many artists. My mother is intentionally introducing Lu Mianmian to connections, adding bricks and tiles to her artistic path. "Tricking me here with a twig, is this about paving the way for outsiders with your own daughter? Too bad. Lu Yi, don't settle for just any wild chicken or dog." Lu Yi disdainfully raised her chin, deliberately ignoring Lu Mianmian's hypocritical greeting. She looked around for a long time before finally spotting me, with a plain face, in the corner. "Oh, our little Ji has grown so beautiful. Auntie Lu remembers you had such a knack for drawing." She strode over and gently tousled my hair. Her eyes filled with admiration as she looked at me. Despite being mocked by her, my mother showed no signs of discouragement. "Sister Lu, Mianmian is also very talented in drawing," and this time she was directly admitted. "It's too noisy here. Xiaoji, let's find a place to sit. Auntie will tell you about the latest happenings in the domestic art scene." Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Lu Yi interrupted my mother's words with a cold tone, showing no hint of kindness. She immediately took me by the arm and led me to a corner to sit down. From beginning to end, Lu Mianmian, who was treated like trash, stood in place, her face filled with resentment. She bit her lower lip awkwardly, glaring at me with resentment. So when she took the stage later, she hugged my mom even more triumphantly, the two of them looking even closer in front of me. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate our Mianyang's successful recommendation. It's all because of my mom that I've come this far." They chatted back and forth, filled with mother-daughter affection. I calmly sipped my orange juice, listening attentively to Lu Yi's artistic sharing. "Xiaoji, what are your plans for the future? If you need Aunt Lu, just say the word." "Thank you, Auntie." I smiled and took out an admission letter from my arms, handing it to her. "The Royal College of Art in the UK, Shu." After seeing the content, Lu Yi first exclaimed in surprise, then excitedly hugged me tightly. I patted her back, signaling her to lower her voice. "This is the world's top art academy. Why didn't you tell everyone?" She gently raised her hand to tidy the stray hairs by my ear, her face full of relief. I glanced at the person on stage a few times, playfully curling my lips, because I want to give them a surprise. When the banquet ended, Lu Yi slipped a picture album into my arms, with a small check tucked inside. My mother still had her arm around Lu Mianmian as she saw off the guests, proudly showing off to her own family. When she saw me approaching, her expression turned somewhat unnatural. The eyes of several elders from her family slid over me and then settled on Lu Mianmian's wrist. "Isn't this the dowry Mom gave Xiaoji before she passed away? How did it end up in her hands?" Hearing this, Lu Mianmian shrank back timidly, hiding behind my mother. She had coaxed it out of my mother's hands last night. "Mom said it was for her granddaughter, and giving it to Mianmian is the same. It's a reward for her being admitted to university without taking the entrance exam." My mother didn't feel the slightest bit out of place and retorted with full confidence. The few people from her family exchanged subtle glances but ultimately said nothing. It was only before leaving that their gazes towards me carried a few traces of sympathy. I forced a smile, hiding the malice in my eyes. This sympathy, better save it for the day of my mom and Lu Mianmian's funeral. After that day, Lu Mianmian began to openly take over my mom even more. The school was about to hold a graduation ceremony, carefully arranging a flower-giving session for parents, and Mian Lu and I attended the same school and graduated together. Xiaoji, Mian has always been sensitive since she grew up without any relatives. If she doesn't have her mother to present her with flowers at the graduation ceremony, others will laugh at her. My mother ordered a large bouquet of fresh lilies from the flower shop. It was only when she and Mian Lu returned, laughing after buying their graduation gowns, that she suddenly remembered me. Understood. I sat cross-legged on the living room floor flipping through the art book, nodding absent-mindedly. Seeing my lack of reaction, my mom instead began to lecture me with displeasure. "You're not angry with Mom, are you? Can't you be a bit more understanding of your sister?" "Not angry. I'm tired and heading upstairs. Last night, Aunt Lou sent over some materials about studying in the UK, and I haven't finished reading them yet." "Angry? I won't get angry." As early as in my previous life, I had already given up on her. "All right, go to bed early. Xiaoxi is graduating tomorrow, so I wish you a happy graduation in advance." "Mom." My mother walked over and hugged me, but when she leaned in to get a clear look at my features, she seemed somewhat disgusted. She immediately let go with a cold expression, then smiled and walked into the kitchen with Lu Mian. Both of them were carrying a few bags of ingredients for a late-night snack. And as they talked, my mother was so amused by her that she beamed with joy. Once their figures disappeared, I raised my hand and touched this face. This face resembles my father who didn't love her, but what resembles my father the most is my extraordinary artistic talent since childhood. Over the years, the better I became at painting, the more she despised me. In the end, she even stubbornly adopted a new daughter from the orphanage who looked like her. What a madman! During the flower presentation ceremony, I walked up and down the stage alone, standing out awkwardly among the crowd. My mother sat in the parents section, chatting with those around her as Lu Mian's mother. It wasn't until the principal took the stage that the venue fell silent. "Now, let's welcome this year's outstanding graduate, Lu Ji, to come on stage and speak." Lu Ji has been admitted to a world-renowned art academy, making her. Amidst the warm applause, I gracefully walked onto the stage. In the parents section, my mother stood up in shock, then sat back down in frustration. Lu Mian's face turned pale and then flushed with anger. She gritted her teeth and ran out of the room. The speech and the ceremony ended simultaneously, and the crowd dispersed. I returned to the parents section from the backstage, and as expected, I saw my mother holding Lu Mian's hand, chatting with the counselor. "Mian is truly outstanding. To have raised such an excellent daughter, you must be a very skilled educator." The counselor's words gratified my mother's vanity, and her face immediately lit up with joy. My mother, with a smile at the corner of her lips, was about to boast when the counselor muttered and turned away. "I wonder who Lu Ji's parents are. Their child is so outstanding, yet they never show up." Upon hearing this clearly, my mother's expression instantly stiffened. When she saw me, her smile gradually grew uneasy. The ride home was eerily quiet, only I, with a smile that never left the corners of my lips. At the dinner table in the evening, the atmosphere was more tense and anxious than usual. I took a bite of food, looking up with a smile that wasn't quite a smile. "Mom, sis, aren't you going to congratulate me?" Lu Mian paused her hand while scooping rice, turned her face away, and her eyes grew red. My mom's expression also faltered a bit. She forced a smile and said, "Why didn't you mention the Royal College of Art earlier? Want to surprise you." She was momentarily at a loss for words and could only silently lower her head to eat. After a while, she hesitantly spoke again. "Studying abroad is too expensive. Mom might not have the money to send you." Hearing this, the smile on my lips deepened. Since the divorce, my mother hasn't worked, and the money my father left has been nearly spent. After Lu Mian was admitted through recommendation, her tuition was nearly 100,000 yuan a year, and my study abroad expenses were also considerable. The family's financial pressure is indeed significant, but my mother is not without money. She simply chose to sacrifice me. With Lu Mian snickering, I winked playfully. "Mom, don't worry, I received a full scholarship, so tuition is free, and I can support myself while studying abroad." My mother completely stopped talking, her face as dark as could be. "I'm full." Suddenly, Lu Mian put down her bowl and ran upstairs in a huff. Seeing this, my mother stood up worriedly, but eventually sat back down. She naturally picked up a piece of shrimp with her chopsticks and placed it in my bowl. Her eyes gentle, but what she said next wasn't very pleasant. "Mommy can't bear to let you go. England is too far from home. What if we don't go?" "I'm full too." I put down my bowl and got up to go upstairs on my own. Before entering the room, I deliberately leaned on the railing and raised a big smile. Mom, I'm allergic to seafood, don't forget next time. When Lu Mianmian started school, I was still at home. If I remember correctly, that big event is about to happen. In her previous life, Lu Mianmian gained fame shortly after enrolling in school, thanks to a painting exhibition. At that time, she used the dusty works from my studio, but now, all my old works have been burned in that fire. What will you do, Lu Mianmian? In the middle of the night, I returned alone to the studio with its blackened walls. As I quietly tidied up, the door to the studio was pushed open. My mother walked in, holding a small bouquet of fresh lilies, just as she was about to place the flowers into the newly bought white porcelain vase. I raised my hand to stop her. Mom, I don't like lilies. All right. She smiled awkwardly and sat down on the wooden table I had tidied up, looking rather displeased. I raised an eyebrow expectantly, wondering what new trick she was playing this time. Lu Mianmian watched quietly as I knelt on the floor scrubbing, showing no intention of helping at all. After I finally finished cleaning up, she casually brought up a topic as if by accident. By the way, Mom, Xiaoji is about to go to England. Didn't you say you wanted a painting to hang in the living room? No, I'm just afraid I'll miss Xiaoji too much if I don't see her for a long time. My mother immediately cooperated by covering her chest, her eyes moistening at the corners. So they wanted my painting. Under their expectant gazes, I smiled and nodded. All right, Mom, I'll paint you a landscape. No, I don't like landscapes. I want people. Portraits, yes, portraits. My mother stammered out her request. Glancing over at Lu Mianmian from time to time, it was clear she knew nothing about art. She was just reciting lines someone else had prepared for her. It seems that the theme of this art exhibition is portraits. Then let me give them a good helping hand. Portraits are no problem, but I haven't been feeling very inspired lately. Oh, no matter what little she paints, Mom will love it. My mother thought I was just being modest and happily took my hand. It was as if she could already see Lu Mianmian winning awards again at the art exhibition. Until the painting was finished. Little Ji, this painting of yours, maybe we should treat this as practice, and you can paint another one for Mom. Seeing the chaotic color structure in the work, Lu Mianmian was clearly a bit anxious. She glared at me a few times unhappily, smiling as she urged me to redraw it. I'm tired. Mom said she likes whatever I draw, right Mom? I squeezed my wrist and looked at my mom innocently. She couldn't understand the painting, so she immediately nodded along with my words. This is the most popular abstract painting style in contemporary art. You've already been recommended for admission to the Central Academy of Fine Arts, so you can't possibly not understand it, right? Seeing Lu Mianmian sweating profusely in panic, I immediately propped my chin up with interest and observed her. Her pupils contracted, and her face instantly darkened. Coming to this home, she stole my mother's affection and my position in the family through deception, but the one thing she couldn't take away was my artistic talent. Of course I can understand it. With a resentful glare, Lu Mianmian clenched her teeth and left with the painting, holding on to my mother. Watching their somewhat disheveled figures as they left, I laughed so hard I could barely catch my breath. Well then, I wished them good luck. What's wrong with my sister? After finishing the paperwork for studying abroad in the UK and returning home, I saw Lu Mianmian lying on the sofa, crying uncontrollably. As soon as I walked in, my mother was pacing around in distress, gently coaxing him from beside him. Seeing me return, her face instantly darkened. None of your business. Oh, I nodded, tactfully carrying the Berlin Gold Award certificate I was holding upstairs. Of course it concerns me. That abstract portrait I deliberately scribbled will prevent Lu Mianmian from even making it past the second round of the art exhibition review. I heard she was hailed as a painting prodigy when she entered the school, but now she's probably become the laughingstock of the entire campus. Just as I was about to enter the room, my mom received a phone call. What? Mianmian's painting is accused of plagiarism from the Berlin International Art Competition Gold Award-winning piece. She screamed in shock, her emotions overwhelming as she fell off the sofa. Lu Mianmian froze, her small face lifting in a daze. I retracted my step, leaning on the railing to quietly watch the drama unfold. Willow Branch, tell me honestly, did you plagiarize your painting, Rebirth? After hanging up the phone, my mother stormed upstairs, grabbed me, and demanded an answer. Her face was slightly contorted, her eyes filled with undisguised disgust. I didn't plagiarize. You still say you didn't copy. The review committee called and said, the newborn is exactly the same as the work that won the Berlin Art Gold Award. She raised her hand, and it looked like the slap was about to land. With an innocent look on my face, I pulled her hand away and opened the award letter I was holding. But Mom, the person who won the Berlin Art Gold Award is me, my mother and Lu Mianmian, who who had chased after me to demand an explanation, were caught completely off guard. The scene instantly fell into a deathly silence. Sister Xiaoji, did you paint two versions of New Life? Lu Mianmian's lips were deathly pale, her nails digging fiercely into her palms. That's right, one piece is being sent to the Berlin competition, and the other is for the domestic art exhibition. I nodded sincerely, smiling brilliantly. Her expression gradually darkened, and she frowned as if seeking help, looking toward my mother. My mother's emotions were instantly ignited, and she questioned with full fury, "Why didn't you tell me you were participating in the Berlin competition? What are you plotting? What's wrong, Mom? Aren't you happy that I won an international gold medal?" I pursed my lips and pretended to be dejected, lowering my head. "Since they want to put on an act, I'll play along to the end. Happy? Of course I'm happy. Mom is just too excited." The expression on my mom's face almost slipped, and to avoid revealing anything, she forced a smile and gave a few perfunctory compliments. She glanced away from me, carefully holding on to the unsteady Lu Mianmian. Seeing that they had nothing to say, I shrugged and went back to my room before closing the door. I curiously poked my head out. "Oh, I think I just heard my sister's name. Something about plagiarism." "Don't talk nonsense, Mianmian could never plagiarize." "Oh." They were startled by my words and hurriedly went downstairs. Only when there was no more movement outside did I finally couldn't help but lower my head and laugh. With a light tap of my finger, the recorder hidden in my pocket instantly paused. "Evidence secured. This is really too interesting." On the day the art exhibition investigation team came to our door, the administrative director from the Central Academy of Fine Arts also arrived. My mom specifically sent me to buy onions from a supermarket 2 hours away early in the morning. Knowing something was off, I only bought onions from a small stall downstairs. When I got home, I placed a full bag of onions at the entrance and quietly sat in the corner to eavesdrop. Ms. Chen, if Lu Mianmian is confirmed to have plagiarized, the school's penalty will be expulsion. After some pleasantries, the director spoke up with a slightly serious tone. Of course, there was no plagiarism. Both versions of New Life were painted by our Mianmian. Her voice was sharper than usual, and I could hear the tension in her throat. Lu Mianmian, however, remained as weak and incapable as ever, staying behind her without speaking. "But the person who won the Berlin International Gold Award is called Lu Ji." Mianmian changed her name. "Mom, I'm back. I just heard someone calling my name." I picked up the onion and walked briskly into the living room, timing it perfectly to interrupt my mom's lie. Seeing me, both my mom and Lu Mianmian's expressions changed dramatically. Before they could explain, the committee members' eyes lit up. "Are you Willow Branch?" "Yes." Under my mother's anxious shaking of her head, I pretended not to understand and nodded. "Did you paint Rebirth, which won the Berlin International Gold Prize this year?" I smiled and stepped forward to pour tea for them, taking the opportunity to avoid my mother's hand. Secretly pinching my waist, the committee members exchanged glances, their expressions unfriendly as they demanded an explanation from her. The scene fell silent for a few seconds. My mother turned her face away, avoiding my gaze, and spoke hesitantly. "Both paintings were done by Mianmian. I accompanied her in the studio every night while she painted. Rebirth was lost the night before the exhibition, so Mianmian painted another one. I don't know how Xiaoji ended up submitting it for the competition. Your sister has always been more outstanding." Xiaoji just wanted recognition so badly that she made a mistake. She held Lu Mianmian tightly, her face pale, looking somewhat troubled. "What a great act of sacrificing family for justice." I raised an eyebrow and stood still, quietly listening to her fabricate lies. With my mother's strong testimony, the situation immediately reversed. The committee member's face darkened, his gaze serious as it swept over us. "Ms. Chen, if Lu Ji's plagiarism is confirmed, she will be expelled from the Royal College of Art, and her artistic career will be ruined. Given the stakes for my future," his words carried significant weight. My mother's face grew even paler as she looked at me with difficulty, yet I remained expressionless, my eyes calm and unruffled as I met her gaze. "Mom," Lu Mianmian choked back sobs, shrinking into her embrace, tears falling in a steady stream. My mother's pupils contracted sharply, and her heart softened as she wiped the tears from the corner of her eye. "Mom, didn't you help me send out my painting? How did it become my sister's?" Seeing her still hesitating, I decided to add fuel to the fire. Hurt by my sarcastic tone, my mother immediately flew into a rage. She tried to maintain her composure but shouted angrily, "You're lying. When did I ever help you send anything? Don't slander your sister. How did I raise such a creature like you?" "Mom, don't be angry. Little Ji didn't mean it." Lu Mianmian worriedly raised her hand to stroke my mother's chest, helping her to catch her breath. When she looked at me, her eyes were filled with blatant triumph. In my mother's eyes, only the child who cries gets the candy, but I am determined to be the one to smash the candy jar. Since you claim new life is your painting, then tell us who the person in the painting is. I smiled maliciously, leaning in very close. Under the scrutinizing gazes of the crowd, Lu Mianmian first looked nervously at my mother a few times, then confidently answered, "The doctor in the ward is the one who gave me a new life." My mother nodded, subtly scanning me from head to toe, and immediately breathed a sigh of relief. After that painting was sent out, she had asked me this question privately. She really had made thorough preparations for Lu Mianmian. I couldn't help but laugh out loud, giving a little clap for their hypocrisy. This is a patient I met in room 302 while being treated for anxiety at North Affiliated Hospital. I have his contact information here. Do you need it? I casually tore a blank sheet from my sketchbook, wrote down a series of numbers, and handed it over. As my gaze swept past my mother, I playfully winked at her. Realizing she had been deceived, she angrily grabbed the blank paper and tore it to shreds. Mianmian must have made a mistake. She even told me last time that she drew a patient when visiting you at the hospital. Don't think you can impersonate her just because you recognized it. Her words were arrogant and extremely forced, but unfortunately, she insisted that I was the one who plagiarized, and I couldn't produce any substantial evidence. The people present could only look at each other in dismay, exchanging helpless glances. "Mom, why are you treating me like this?" In the heavy silence, I let out a deep sigh and questioned her with some curiosity. "Why? What have I done wrong all these years?" My mother just turned her head away, pretending not to hear. Still unwilling to change her words, seeing her firm attitude, I shrugged and took out the voice recorder from my pocket. "Lu Ji, tell me honestly, did you plagiarize your painting, Rebirth?" "Lu Ji, did you paint two versions of Rebirth?" "Yes, one is sent to the Berlin competition, and one to the domestic exhibition." The familiar conversation rang out, and the living room fell into a terrifying silence. I took a few steps back, dodging my mother's attempt to grab the recording pen. "No. These are all fake, Ms. Chen. We will handle Miss Lu Mianmian's situation seriously. The dismissal notice will be issued in a few days after the information is verified. Plagiarists will also be blacklisted by domestic art exhibitions." The school director and the organizing committee left one after another, giving them no opportunity to argue. The sound of the door closing came, and Lu Mianmian finally broke down, sobbing on the sofa. My mother's face was dark as she abruptly stopped me from going upstairs. "Willow Branch, how could you be so vicious? How could you ruthlessly ruin your sister's future? She falsely claimed my painting as her own. How am I in the wrong now?" Her grip was tight, and I slightly frowned as I pulled my hand back. As soon as the words fell, a thick layer of disgust rose in my mother's eyes, and she spoke with sarcasm. "You really are exactly like your heartless father, a selfish brat. You're not wrong, I am. I shouldn't have fought for your custody when we divorced back then. Ms. Chen, you only fought to take me away back then to get revenge on my dad. What difference has it made all these years whether I have a mother or not?" I mercilessly exposed her true nature. The night before the divorce, I was only 7 years old when I overheard her conversation with the lawyer. To get back at my father for forcing him to separate from me, my mother fought desperately to keep me during the divorce, but contrary to her expectations, my father didn't care about me and never once came back to see me. My mother, unwilling to accept this, could only vent her hatred on me through emotional neglect. "This is truly a bloody truth." Slap. "Get out of here." My mother's face twisted in anger as she raised her hand and slapped me hard. A burning pain spread, and a metallic taste of blood gradually filled my mouth. I clenched my back teeth and laughed, leaving without looking back. After that, we never crossed paths again, but a month before leaving the country, Lu Mianmian called personally. "Little Ji, it's all my fault. Please don't blame Mom. Mom has been very sad these days. Could you have a meal with us before you leave?" After saying that, she gave an address. Hearing the name of that familiar hotel, I agreed with a smile. The gears of fate began to turn once more, and I had been waiting for this moment for a long time. In my previous life, Lu Mianmian used my paintings to win an international award, and to show off, she invited the whole family to celebrate at this hotel. Little did we know that the hotel's wiring was outdated, posing serious fire safety issues. In the fire, I was struck by a collapsing ceiling while trying to save my mother, leaving me unable to escape, but my mother resolutely abandoned me, carrying Lu Mianmian out of the fire without looking back. Finally, I suffered severe burns and high-level paralysis, dying on the day she attended Lu Mianmian's award ceremony. After hanging up the phone, I was intoxicated by the sight of another, new life. On the wall, the rich red paint was recklessly splashed, depicting a terrifying fire. This time, they were finally going to hell. When we met, my mother looked extremely haggard, and for once, she took the initiative to soften her stance. Mom remembered you don't eat seafood, so I ordered your favorite minced pork with eggplant. Mom also bought your favorite red roses and put them in the studio. Come back and see them when you have time. She carefully picked up a few pieces of eggplant and placed them in my bowl. Her eyes filled with hope. She actually remembers all of these. She just deliberately withheld them from me before, tormenting me. Her unhappy life. I won't allow happiness either. I picked up the bowl and, right in front of her, dumped all the food into the trash can. Mom, you missed one more thing. I hate it the most when people put on airs. Lu Ji, that's enough. Mom has already humbled herself like this. What more do you want? Lu Mianmian frowned, unable to hold back from raising her voice in accusation. My mother patted her hand, smiled, and stood up to make tea for me. Xiaoji, Mom was wrong. Can you forgive me? The steam swirled, making her expression unclear and indistinct. I raised an eyebrow. What kind of act was this now? In her expectant gaze, I picked up the tea and took a small sip. My mother immediately grasped my hand with joy, her eyes sparkling. Mom knows Xiaoji is the most obedient and well-behaved, so, for Mom's sake, can you also forgive your sister? All right, then. Help your sister out, and take her with you to study in the UK, okay? She's already got her passport. Having someone to accompany you while you learn painting won't make you feel so lonely, and in the future, both my dear daughters will be artists. She smiled slightly, her face filled with anticipation, as if she could already see the beautiful scene she envisioned. Beside me, Lu Mianmian was also sitting obediently, with a hint of excitement barely concealed. My mother didn't understand anything about studying abroad, and as expected, it was Lu Mianmian who suggested the idea. But why did they think I would agree? I smiled, then spat out the tea I hadn't yet swallowed into the teacup. All right, Mom, I'm going out to take a call. Xiaoji, you agreed. You can't go back on your word. Go ahead, take your call. I'll call the waiter to add a few more of your favorite dishes. My mother and Lu Mianmian were ecstatic. Holding hands and laughing joyfully, they discussed their future plans without paying attention to me, and I picked up my coat and left alone. The gates of hell are about to open. Walking through the dark passage, the smell of burning gradually spreads. This hotel had previously been exposed for its aging electrical circuits, but the responsible party never rectified the issue. It wasn't until this time that a fire broke out. Fire. The moment I stepped out of the hotel door, a piercing alarm sounded. Inside the building, screams and commotion rose and fell in waves. I stood with my arms crossed, quietly watching as the flames slowly consumed the building. Only I was involved in the accident in the fire last time, and everyone else was unharmed. Suddenly, the window of the private room where my mother was opened. From afar, I saw her lean out and shout for help. Although she couldn't see me, I still stood on tiptoe and waved at her with a smile. In no time, the fire on the outer wall burned even more fiercely, forcing her to retreat. As the sharp siren approached, the fire brigade arrived. They immediately registered the list of trapped people and their specific locations within the building with the hotel manager. Thanks to the timely fire alarm reported by the enthusiastic public, the fire is not too severe. The fire chief's furrowed brow relaxed slightly as he quickly directed the rescue personnel on the scene. I smiled and stepped forward promptly to intervene. The people in VIP room 606 on the list are my mother and sister, but they just called to say they've already escaped safely. Yes, this young lady was in VIP room 606. She was the one who smelled the burning odor and reported the fire. The manager next to me recognized me and came over gratefully to help explain. The captain double-checked several times, and after confirming the information was correct, lightly drew a line on the list. I still wore a smile, naturally shifting my gaze away. Get out, just go. I brought fruit to the hospital for a visit and could already hear the commotion inside the ward from outside the door. My mother was out of control, flipping over everything around her in a frenzy. The nurse in charge of taking care of her came out with red eyes and a few fresh scratches on her face. That fire still didn't manage to kill them, but when she was finally rescued, my mother suffered severe injuries to her lower body and had to undergo high spinal cord transection, and Lu Mianmian suffered severe burns, with her entire body's skin ulcerated. The hardships I endured in my previous life, they have now experienced them all one by one. Seeing me appear, My mother's expression twisted even more. She suddenly threw the fruit basket at me, scattering fresh fruit all over the ground. Lu Ji, where the hell were you that day? Why didn't you come in to save me when the fire broke out? Your daughter escaped safely. Aren't you happy about that? Under her venomous gaze, I bent down and casually picked up a green apple from the corner. I took a big bite with a smile, and the refreshing sweetness of the fruit filled the air. Mom, do you want to eat some? It's all your fault. If you had rushed into the fire to save us, Mian Mian and I would definitely have escaped safely. Why wasn't it you who got into trouble? Why do you deserve to stand here unscathed? My mother's voice grew louder and louder, her expression agitated and gradually becoming somewhat frenzied. Seeing that she was about to lose control, I took a few steps back and pulled out my plane ticket. I'm flying to the UK tomorrow. Goodbye, you're my daughter, and I won't let you go abroad to study. Hand over all your money for the surgery fee. You owe this to us. If you dare to leave, I'll die right in front of you. Her words carried a fierce determination, threatening with her own life. I turned my face away in silence, my body trembling uncontrollably. Ha 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 ha. After pretending for so long, I finally couldn't hold back my laughter. The laughter grew increasingly wild, causing my mother to frown. Willow Branch, are you crazy? What are you laughing at, Mom? Ever since the night you wanted to steal the painting for Willow Mian Mian, I have no longer been your daughter. I slowly leaned closer to the hospital bed, my expression eerie. As soon as the words fell, my mother widened her eyes in disbelief, her lips tightly pressed together as she spoke. You already knew. I nodded and whispered in her ear. Otherwise, do you think why your car's brake line would break? Do you think why the organizing committee would discover that Lu Mian Mian plagiarized? Do you think firefighters only find you at the last moment during a rescue? Willow Branch, you. My mother's body suddenly trembled violently, and cold sweat broke out on her forehead. Before she could finish her sentence, she rolled her eyes and collapsed straight down. These symptoms are quite similar to a stroke. I kindly pressed the bedside bell for her and left amidst the chaos. As I passed by Lu Mian Mian's ward, I peeked in a few times. She lay there with her body covered in sores, the sheets stained with pus and yellowish fluid. That innocent little face disappeared, replaced by a twisted visage filled with despair. So in my previous life, I looked so ugly before I died. I smiled, placing the fresh lilies I held in my arms at the door of the hospital ward, and walked away with light steps. Xiaoji, your graduation artwork has been selected for the London International Art Exhibition. The studio door swung open, and Louis strode in. With a fierce step, dressed in a trench coat, she approached with a gilded invitation in hand, her face beaming with excitement. I put down my paintbrush, stood up happily, and embraced her. After cutting ties with my mother that day, I flew to the UK to study. When I graduated, I still returned to China and moved into Louis's apartment. She also became my guardian and agent. Xiaoji, your painting of the rose is really beautiful. Louis smiled gently, her hand patting my head with a look of pride. I leaned against her shoulder, closing my eyes to feel her warm breath, and gradually relaxed. Xiaoji, tomorrow is your mother's Memorial Day. Will you go to pay your respects? I won't go, Aunt Lou. How about we fly to London to see the art exhibition? Upon hearing this, she nodded, quietly admiring my painting while booking the international flight tickets. The spring light streams in through the windowsill, filling the room with warmth and brightness. At this moment, I finally feel reborn. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. This time, I choose to give birth but not raise. To save my daughter from being sold by her husband to an old bachelor, I accidentally killed my husband. During 10 years in prison, I thought every day about whether my daughter was doing well. After being released from prison, I worked desperately to make up for it, taking 8 jobs a day to support her education. On the day she was recommended for admission to Tsinghua University, I was on a construction site, eating steamed buns and drinking cold water. At the college entrance exam mobilization meeting, she cried and said, "My mother is a murderer and never raised me. I owe everything I have today to my own efforts." The whole internet praised her for being independent and strong, while I was cyberbullied to the point of despair and jumped into the river. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day I was released from prison. This time, as your murderer mother, I will definitely fulfill your wish. Go out and be a good person, don't do anything foolish again. The female prison guard's voice held no warmth. The prison gates opened, and the sunlight stung my eyes. It wasn't a dream. I was certain I had been reborn on this day of my release. In my previous life, my daughter Sun Miao's father, my husband Sun Yifeng, was an absolute scumbag. He was a heavy drinker, and when he got drunk, he would hit people. My daughter always had old wounds layered with new ones, covered in bruises, with not a single patch of unblemished skin. That day, when I came home from work, Sunny Feng was holding a crumpled stack of banknotes, counting them with great relish. My heart sank suddenly. Where did you get that money? He smiled smugly. Where's Meow Meow? My voice trembled. Sunny Feng waved his hand dismissively. That worthless girl, sold her to the old bachelor at the end of the village for some drinking money. I ran all the way to the old bachelor's house, kicking and hitting, using all my strength to snatch my daughter back. The old bachelor came to ask for money, and Sunny Feng grabbed a wine bottle and threw it at him. I held my daughter tightly in my arms as shards of glass cut my forehead. Sunny Feng grabbed my daughter by the hair and dragged her toward the door. Ah, Mom, save me. I gritted my teeth and grabbed the iron wrench. A dull thud echoed. The world fell silent. Sunny Feng was dead. I was found guilty of excessive self-defense and sentenced to 10 years. When I was released from prison, my daughter had just started her second year of high school. She was crouched at the prison gate, thin and small. She kept her head down, and when she looked at people, her eyes were evasive, carrying a cautious sense of fear. At that moment, my heart felt as if pierced by a needle, aching intensely. I went mad trying to make it up to her. She said she wanted to get into Tsinghua University, so I worked day and night. I scrimped and saved, eating cold steamed buns and drinking tap water, washing dishes, delivering takeout, hauling bricks at construction sites, entertaining and drinking at KTVs, working 8 jobs a day, driving myself like a beast, all just to earn a little more money and give her the best. She charges 300 yuan for one tutoring session, while I might not even earn 300 in a day. No matter how hard I work, her grades kept improving, and eventually, she was recommended for admission to Tsinghua University. I thought the hard times were finally over, but I never expected that I had raised an ungrateful wolf. Mom, a timid voice came from behind. It was Sun Miao, just like in the previous life, dark and skinny. I looked at her, slowly pulling out a cold smile. In this life, Mom will definitely take good care of you. I responded faintly. Sun Miao was stunned, seemingly not expecting my indifference. Auntie said I should live with you from now on, she whispered softly. I remained expressionless. I don't have the means to support you, but I've found a new place for you. Sun Miao widened her eyes. But Mom, don't call me Mom, I interrupted her. I've been to prison. I don't deserve to be your mother. After saying that, I picked up my simple luggage bag and left without looking back. On the bus, she followed me at some point without me noticing. In my previous life, I held Sun Miao tightly all the way, crying and saying that Mom would never leave you again. In this life, I closed my eyes to rest, not even giving her a glance. This time, I mean what I say about giving birth but not raising the child. I knocked on the Sun family's door with Sun Miao. What are you doing here, Mrs.? Sun opened the door, looking at me with disgust. Returning the Sun family's bloodline to you. I pushed Sun Miao forward a step. Sun's father sneered. Our Sun family has no child born of a murderer. I smiled. Not only does she have a murderer for a mother, but she also has a human trafficker for a father. What, do you want me to go to your younger son's workplace and make a scene, so everyone knows why his brother died? Sunny Feng's younger brother works in a state-owned enterprise and is most afraid of such gossip, as it could easily cost him his job. Sun Miao lowered her head, her fingers twisting the hem of her clothes. After a moment of silence, Mother Sun gritted her teeth and agreed. I nodded and turned to leave. Mom, Sun Miao suddenly grabbed the hem of my clothes, tears welling in her eyes. Are you abandoning me? I gently pushed her hand away. She suddenly broke down and screamed. Mom, what do you mean? You killed Dad. How could Grandma and the others treat me well? It turns out she knew everything from this moment on. She knew why I killed that scumbag, and she knew who would truly be good to her. I ignored her wails and left the Sun family alone. In the evening, I carried the groceries back to the rented apartment. At the entrance of the alley, a thin figure was curled up in the corner. It was Sun Miao. She had found her way here after all. She stood up and timidly said, Mom, Grandma wants me to sleep in the storage room, and my cousin keeps pulling my hair. I don't want to stay at Grandma's house. You come to my place, you'll have to sleep with cockroaches and rats. I pointed to the damp, dark alley of the rental house. I sold the old house and gave part of the money to my sister as compensation for raising Sun Miao all these years. I saved a portion for myself. In my previous life, I gritted my teeth and worked myself to the bone, refusing to sell the house just to provide Sun Miao with a better living environment. Now that the house in this prime location has been sold, I still have a substantial amount of savings, enough for me to live comfortably on my own for many years. Sun Miao hurriedly expressed her stance. Mom, it's okay, I can accept it. She paused, then added, I can work and don't eat much. I'm really easy to take care of, truly, easy to take care of. I softly repeated those 3 words. In my past life, it was those very words that made me willingly toil like an ox or a horse. I remember her holding that trendy branded sweatshirt, the same one her classmates had, frowning and saying it wasn't as nice as the limited edition. I remember her complaining that the 300 yuan per session tutoring class wasn't as good as her classmates' 500 yuan per session one. I remember that after she went viral, fans dug up her social media account, which was used as evidence of her unyielding perseverance, and it was filled with posts like, my mom never spends time with me, forget amusement parks, she hasn't even taken me to a park. Watching other classmates holding hands with their moms, I can only tell myself I don't need it. There's a parent-teacher meeting today. And my mom made another excuse about being too busy to come. I'm the only one in the whole class without a parent. I know she's lying. She just thinks I'm an embarrassment. It's fine. I don't care anymore. Not every mother deserves to be called a mother, nor does every mother know how to love her own child. Books say that a happy childhood can heal a lifetime, while an unhappy childhood takes a lifetime to heal. My childhood is probably a wound that will never fully heal. Each sentence is like a knife stabbing into my heart. I sighed and began my performance. How am I supposed to raise you, Sun Miao? Tell me, all these years you've been at your aunt's house. Even though I was inside, I've been thinking of you. I know it hasn't been easy for your aunt to raise you, and to repay her for that, I sold the old house. I took out my phone and showed her the transfer record. Look, I gave all 500,000 to your aunt. You're still in high school now, and you'll be going to college in the future. Everything costs money. But what about me? I just got out. I don't have a job. Who would hire someone with a prison record? It's hard enough for me to survive on my own. Sun Miao lowered her head, silent, her expression unreadable. Her eyes brimmed with tears, and her voice was soft. Mom, as long as I can go to school, just give me a bite to eat. She knew that this was the best lifeline she could grasp at the moment. Looking at the girl before me, I ultimately softened my heart. All right. I stared at her. I'll only cover your basic tuition and the mandatory living expenses for the school cafeteria. As for anything else, clothes, pocket money, extra tutoring fees, or interest classes, don't even think about it. Okay, thank you, Mom. Sun Miao nodded eagerly, her eyes curving into crescents under the dim light. Upon closer inspection, she looked very much like me once. This was the only thought that kept me going in prison, but now, I won't be fooled by this seemingly obedient and pitiful facade anymore. Not 2 days later, I received a call from Sun Miao's homeroom teacher. What's bound to come can't be avoided. In my previous life, the homeroom teacher told me that Sun Miao excelled in math, and winning an award in the Olympiad could add a golden touch to her college entrance exam, even opening a direct path to prestigious universities. So I began the process of draining myself dry. I remember it vividly. I was on a construction site trying to earn money for her training fees when a loose brick fell and hit my hand. My little finger was instantly deformed, and the pain was excruciating. My co-workers urged me to go to the hospital, but my first thought was to call her, worried that she might be anxious if she couldn't find me. On the phone, she mentioned that there was a parent-teacher conference at her school that day. I was afraid she would worry, so I could only vaguely say, Mom is busy today and can't make it. She fell silent on the other end of the line, just said, oh, and hung up. Later, I found out that she had posted on social media that day, there was a parent-teacher meeting today, and my mom refused with the excuse of being busy. In the whole class, I was the only one without a parent. I know she lied to me, but it's okay, I don't care anymore. The accompanying image shows an empty playground outside the window, with a sense of loneliness almost overflowing from the screen. I put away my memories and let out a cold laugh. Math Olympiad class. Don't even think about it. I dug out the most tattered clothes from the bottom of the wardrobe, still stained with paint spots and cement dust that wouldn't wash out. I then faced the mirror, tousled my hair into a mess, and even smeared a bit of dirt on my face, making myself look travel-worn and utterly exhausted. Looking at myself in the mirror, I smiled with satisfaction. In my previous life, there was a time when I had just come down from the construction site and went to pick her up at the school gate without changing my clothes. The way her face instantly froze when she saw me, and how she Immediately pulled her classmate along, pretending not to know me and walking away, is still fresh in my memory. From then on, no matter how tired or busy I was, I always made sure to tidy myself up before seeing her, afraid of embarrassing her. But now, I can't wait to let her experience what it feels like to have such an embarrassing mother. Stepping into the bright and clean office, my outfit was completely out of place. The homeroom teacher and Sun Miao both looked at me. The homeroom teacher's face showed undisguised astonishment, while Sun Miao's reaction was much more intense. Her face flushed all the way to the tips of her ears. I knew I had embarrassed her again. "Hello, homeroom teacher, I'm Sun Miao's mother. I rushed over as soon as I got off work and didn't have time to change. I'm really sorry." Teacher Li quickly adjusted her expression. "Sun Miao's mom. The main reason I asked you to come today is to discuss Sun Miao's academic performance. Sun Miao has been scoring exceptionally high on her recent math tests, and all of us teachers agree that she has a real talent for mathematics. Next month, there's a national math Olympiad competition. If she can win an award, it would be a huge help for her future college applications, whether through independent admissions or even direct admission." She paused, noticing my lack of reaction, and continued. "So the school recommends that Sun Miao join the intensive training course before the competition. Each class costs about 300 yuan. The office was very quiet. Occasionally, other teachers or student leaders would come in to hand in assignments or pick up things, and their eyes would involuntarily linger on me for a moment. "How much?" I suddenly raised my voice, successfully drawing the attention of everyone in the office. 300 for one class. Good heavens, this isn't a class, it's eating money. I slapped my thigh, putting on a look of great shock. "Teacher, to be honest, I just got out not long ago, and I still have a criminal record. I can't find a decent job, so I can only go to the construction site to move bricks or wash dishes at a restaurant. I work myself to death all day, barely making $100, and I still have to take care of food and living expenses for me and my kid." I could feel the gazes, whether intentional or not, instantly become scorching hot. Whispers faintly drifted over. "Been to prison? Oh my God, Sun Miao's mother, didn't she say last time that her parents run a company?" I spoke loudly. "Her father died early, and I was useless and ended up in prison. The family is so poor it's practically penniless. We really can't afford such expensive classes. Mom, please stop talking." Sun Miao's eyes were red as she tugged hard at the corner of my clothes. "Why are you saying all this?" I pretended to be clueless. "Miao Miao, my dear daughter, Mom knows you're ambitious. It's Mom who's let you down." I then turned to the homeroom teacher, who looked awkward. "Teacher, what do you think about this? I'll go borrow the money. I'll beg relatives and friends on my knees. I'll sell my blood. I'll sell everything I have. I'll scrape together the training fee no matter what. I absolutely can't let my daughter's future be ruined." Sun Miao's head hung even lower, almost burying itself in her chest. She abruptly shook off my hand, tears welling up in her eyes. "Have you said enough? I won't go anymore." "Okay." She let out a scream, covered her face, and rushed out of the office without looking back. I watched her retreating figure, slowly straightened my posture, my face calm and composed. "Perfect. Now, the whole school should pretty much know Sun Miao has a mother who has been to prison, is poor, and works as a laborer on construction sites, and she despises this mother who brings her shame." I didn't run after her to find her. After leaving school, the afternoon sun was just right, so I took a taxi to the mall. This one, and that one. Please let me try them all." My fingers brushed over the clothes rack. The clothes, jewelry, and cosmetics I couldn't bring myself to buy in my past life, I'm now willing to splurge on. It turns out that the feeling of spending money on yourself is genuinely satisfying. I even had a big meal at the restaurant in the evening before leisurely heading home. In the evening, Sun Miao had already finished school and was sitting upright. "Is this what you call having no money? Is this why you can't even afford a 300 yuan per session Olympiad math class?" She pointed at the bags in my hands and questioned me. I looked at her anger, feeling a chill in my heart, and even felt a bit like laughing. "Look, this is my good daughter. In her eyes, all my money is naturally hers, and I don't deserve to have anything of my own." Without thinking, I retorted, "Does every penny I have to be spent on you? Who made that rule? Are you satisfied now?" "Satisfied with what? Did you have to humiliate me like that, letting everyone know I have a mother who's been in prison and washes dishes in a restaurant? How am I supposed to hold my head up at school from now on?" "Humiliate, Sun Miao." I enunciated each word clearly. "I, Qin Ju, have just been released from prison, currently have no stable job, and wash dishes in a restaurant. Isn't that the truth? You think this is degrading because, in your heart, having a mother like me is already a stain on you, right? She glared at me but couldn't utter a single word in rebuttal. As for how you hold your head up at school, that's your own business. I have neither the obligation nor the ability to protect your fragile self-esteem. You just hate me for not visiting you at your aunt's house back then. She was pushed to the brink, so, she actually knew. She also knew that throughout those 10 years, she never once came to see me, not even through a glass window, not even with a single letter. Listen carefully, I raised you only because, legally, I am your biological mother. Beyond that, there is nothing else. At night, lying in bed, I could clearly hear the suppressed, fragmented sobs coming from next door. If it were in a past life, hearing such crying would have shattered my heart. I would have rushed over immediately, held her in my arms, apologized over and over, and promised to fulfill all her wishes. But now, I turned over and closed my eyes. Early in the morning, pushing open the door brought a bit of a surprise. The living room had been cleaned spotlessly, with white porridge and steamed buns laid out on the dining table. Sun Miao was completely different from yesterday. Mom, you're awake. I made breakfast. I raised an eyebrow, didn't respond, and sat down by myself. She looked at me nervously. Mom, I need to discuss something with you. What is it? She pulled an IOU from her pocket. Mom, I was wrong about what happened yesterday. I shouldn't have spoken to you like that. But I really want to attend the training class. I want to get into a good university and have a good job in the future, so I can repay you and be filial. So, I wrote this IOU. Consider this money as a loan from you, and I'll pay you back double when I start working. Is that okay? I have to admit, she's smarter than I imagined. Knowing that a head-on confrontation wouldn't work, she immediately switched strategies. What I want has never been to push her into a corner. If she knows how to be grateful, she and I can coexist peacefully. It's not impossible. I'll think about it. Sun Miao's eyes instantly lit up, and she repeatedly said, "Thank you, Mom." That joy looked so genuine. However, the slap in the face came swiftly. That very night, I came across a trending post with a glaring title. My mom wants me to sign an IOU. The poster was anonymous, but the tone and the details, who else could it be but Sun Miao? There were already quite a few replies below. Hugs to the OP. Such a toxic family environment must be really painful. Some parents just don't deserve to be parents. They're useless themselves and end up dragging their children down. The Olympiad math class is indeed expensive, but Mom's reaction was too extreme. She could have at least talked it out properly. Hang in there, OP. Get into a good university on your own and stay away from them. See, she's still using the same old tricks. I also replied anonymously. As far as I know, the poster's mother has just been released from prison and is indeed in financial difficulty. To repay the kindness of relatives who raised her, she even sold the house. Dreams are important, but we also need to consider the reality. In the evening, Sun Miao came back from school. Mom, money, she whispered. I slowly peeled the orange. What money? She was taken aback for a moment, growing a bit anxious. The money for the Olympiad training class. The one you promised me this morning. Oh, that. I'm not lending it. I even wrote an IOU. How can you go back on your word? Sun Miao's voice rose. I didn't say I'd lend it to you, just that I'd consider it, and Mom believes in you. You can succeed without anyone's help. I gave her a cheeky grin. She slammed the door shut with a bang. We had a period of peaceful coexistence. She went to school as usual every day, and I found a slightly easier job. Although the pay wasn't high, it was more than enough to support myself. The rest of the time, I didn't waste a single moment. I signed up for several skill training classes, filling up my evenings and weekends. During that period, Sun Miao's homeroom teacher called me a few more times. Sun Miao had been distracted in class recently, and her performance on several small tests had noticeably declined. If this trend continued, forget about guaranteed admission. She might not even get into a decent undergraduate program. Communication and guidance are important. You're absolutely right. I'll definitely have a good talk with her later, I said, holding the phone with a tone so sincere it was beyond reproach. After hanging up the phone, I tossed my phone onto the table and went back to studying my professional books. Communication, guidance, didn't she say it herself? She got into Tsinghua University through her own hard work, and it had nothing to do with me, her mother. In that case, why should I bother putting in the effort? The days passed by at a leisurely pace until the final exam results were released. That day, I came home from work, and as soon as I entered, I saw Sun Miao sitting on the sofa with a grim expression. a report card conspicuously placed on the coffee table. The atmosphere was off. I ignored her and headed to the kitchen to get something to eat. Didn't you see it? I feigned ignorance. See what? She pointed emphatically with her finger. The report card, my final exam results. I pretended to glance at it. My ranking dropped by more than 10 places compared to last time, especially in math. Even my strong subjects seem unremarkable. Oh, I see. I put the report card back in its place and said in a flat tone, "What's wrong? What's wrong? Can't you see my grades are getting worse and worse? All my classmates have signed up for cram schools to push for better results. Are you really not going to enroll me in one? In my previous life," she cried pitifully, telling the whole world that her admission to Tsinghua University was all thanks to her own hard work, and that I, her murderer of a mother, had never raised her. How is it that now, without me, her embarrassing mother, working myself to the bone to support her, she can't make it? Why on earth is this happening? It's really hard to guess. Good daughter, you know our family's situation. Mom only has this little salary. If we had the money, I would have signed you up long ago. You're lying, she interrupted me. I've known for a long time that the money from selling the house wasn't all given to Auntie. You just don't want to spend it on me. Seems like you've been doing quite a bit of snooping around in secret. I couldn't be bothered to keep up the act any longer. So what if I am? My attitude clearly caught her off guard. Fine, in that case, starting today, I'm not doing any more housework. I have to study every day, and I don't have the time or the obligation to wait on you. My dear daughter, what are you talking about? When have I ever made you do housework? Before, it was just you being sensible and insisting on doing it yourself. One more thing, starting tomorrow, I'm going to live on campus. My eyes lit up. Living on campus is great. You'll have more time to study, and Mom fully supports it. But, sweetie, the accommodation fee for a semester seems to be 600 yuan. You'll have to figure out how to cover that yourself. Bang, another door slam. In the blink of an eye, the final semester of senior year came roaring in. Mom, tomorrow is the college entrance exam mobilization meeting, and the school requires parents to attend. You must come. I'll be waiting for you. Wait for me. Wait for her to push me out again. To face the condemnation of everyone. Well, what's meant to come will come. This time, I'm waiting. Okay, I understand. On the day of the mobilization meeting, I sat in a corner of the parents section. Thank you to the school and the teachers. Today, I want to share my story. The audience quieted down a bit, and many showed curious expressions. My childhood was actually quite unfortunate, she said, bursting into tears as she spoke. During the years when I needed a mother's love and companionship the most, my mother was absent for a full decade. She is a murderer. Sun Miao's voice suddenly rose, choked with sobs. For money, she accidentally killed my father. Whispers began to spread like a tide. She wiped away her tears. I grew up relying on relatives for support, eating meals from many families. Others have mothers who care for and love them, but I don't. I could only watch, only envy. After she was released from prison, she sold the only house we had, but she didn't spend a single penny of that money on me. I wanted to join an Olympiad math class, but she said she had no money and forced me to write an IOU. I wanted to live on campus to focus on preparing for the college entrance exam, but she wouldn't even pay the 600 yuan for accommodation. She wears new clothes and uses cosmetics every day. Yet she watches me unable to afford tutoring classes without lifting a finger. Does someone like that deserve to be called a mother? She shouted at the top of her lungs. She gave birth to me but never raised me. She doesn't deserve to be a mother. The murmurs in the audience grew louder, and many parents' faces now showed undisguised anger and contempt. Not only that, but I have to get up before dawn every day to make breakfast for her, and when I come home from school, I have to clean the entire house and do the laundry. She treats me like a free maid. Tears welled up in her eyes as she looked at the audience. I have a murderer for a mother. And perhaps that is my original sin, but I believe that through my own efforts, I can break free from all of this and have a bright future. Thunderous applause erupted. Many emotional parents and students even had tears in their eyes. In my previous life, it was this half-truth that made her a model of inspiration and turned me into a sinner despised by all. Unfortunately, in this life, she miscalculated. I am no longer the Qin Jew who only knows how to cry silently. Some truths cannot be concealed forever by playing the victim and hiding key facts. I walked onto the stage. I need to correct a few errors in my daughter's speech just now. The room instantly fell silent, so quiet you could hear a pin drop. First, I looked at Sun Miao. I accidentally killed her father, not for money. It was because her alcoholic, abusive father was going to sell her for money. I fought desperately to save her, and in the process, I accidentally killed her father. I pulled out the prepared documents from my pocket. This is a copy of the court verdict from that year. It clearly states in black and white that it was excessive self-defense, and for that, I paid the price of 10 years of freedom. I looked at Sun Miao, whose face was as pale as paper. Miao Miao, why didn't you mention earlier why your father died? Her lips trembled, but she couldn't utter a single word. Second, I sold the house because Sun Miao lived with her aunt for 10 years. I couldn't ignore this debt of gratitude for her upbringing. Third, the IOU was written by you voluntarily, in an attempt to persuade me to lend you money for the Olympiad math class. I did not force you, and in the end, I didn't lend you the money because I believed that, given our family's financial situation at the time, we should act within our means. I took out a USB drive. As for household chores, Sun Miao, do you want to count how many times you've made breakfast or cleaned the house? I admit, I've been to prison. I'm not a perfect mother, and I can't give you a wealthy life or fulfill all your demands. You can blame me for being poor or for not being capable, but I was once someone who truly loved you. At this point, my nose felt a bit sore. The situation instantly reversed. Someone was quick to record the entire video and uploaded it online. Sun Miao's social media accounts were thoroughly exposed, with netizens relentlessly criticizing every post. The comments section was completely overrun. It's terrifying to think about. She clearly knows her mother went to prison to save her, yet she can still twist the truth like this, posting online to play the victim and incite cyberbullying against her own mother. This isn't just immaturity, it's malice, it's wickedness, it's being an ungrateful wretch. Oh my God, sold by her father at 6, her mother spent 10 years in prison to save her, and after getting out, sold the house to repay her kindness, and all she remembers is her mother not signing her up for tutoring classes. What kind of values are these? If I were her mother and knew she was like this, I would have let her fend for herself long ago, let alone support her education. She's already been shown more kindness than she deserves. Sun Miao's aunt, my sister, posted a lengthy article at this time, detailing the origin of the 500,000 yuan and attaching photos she had taken of Sun Miao every year on his birthday since he was a child. She said that when Sun Miao was young, he was afraid his classmates would find out he had a mother in prison. So he asked her to hide everything about me, but she never expected that as the child grew up, his heart would become so hardened. In the end, I stepped forward to stop this online bullying. Compared to the previous life, where she watched netizens, and even added fuel to the fire, inciting them to bully me, I have already done more than enough. On the eve of the college entrance exam, Sun Miao's classmate, accompanied by her parents, knocked on my door. Sun Miao hid in her room, refusing to come out. This is an IOU that Sun Miao wrote to my daughter for 1,000 yuan. There are several others like this, totaling over 5,000 yuan. I won't even mention the money borrowed for meal cards and other things. No matter how many times we asked, not a single cent was repaid. I took the IOU and, looking at the familiar handwriting, realized that the IOU was her usual trick. It turns out that her so-called living on campus and the excuse of not having enough money for the cafeteria were all lies. She used the money she saved from me, the money she asked for under false pretenses, and the money she borrowed from her classmates to buy trendy brands and chase after celebrities. Later, her classmates mentioned the names of several other students, and I noted them down one by one, paying off all her debts on her behalf. The college entrance examination arrived as scheduled. Without my painstaking efforts from my past life and the support of expensive tutoring classes, Sun Miao's grades were unsurprisingly destined to fail. In the end, she only got into a local ordinary second-tier university, and her major was assigned through adjustment, a world of difference from being directly admitted to Tsinghua University in her previous life. Before the start of university, I called her to the living room. I handed her an envelope. This is your 4 years of university tuition. I'm giving it to you all at once, and it's more than enough. Mom, thank you, she said softly. You're welcome. I looked at her, then took out a document from under the coffee table. Sign this too. It was a document severing our relationship. Mom, what do you mean by this? Just because I said those few words on stage, I didn't want to explain too much. Yes, it's precisely because of those few words, I'm angry, and I won't forgive you. She thought I was being unreasonable. Sun Miao, I raised you until you were 18, supported you through college. I've done my utmost. From now on, your affairs have nothing to do with me, and I won't need you to support me when I'm old. Our bond ends here. Tears instantly welled up in her eyes. Mom, I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. I promise I'll change from now on, okay? She rushed over, trying to grab my hand, but I gently avoided her. I looked at her. I've given you many chances, from the moment you never once visited me in prison, from the moment you felt ashamed of having a mother like me, from the moment you twisted the truth and accused me, from the moment you took everything I did for you for granted and even resented me. We were destined to end up like this. She kept apologizing. Sun Miao, some wounds can't be healed with just a simple, I'm sorry, just like how I will never forgive your father for trying to sell you back then, and in the same way, I will never be able to forgive you either. I pointed at the agreement. Signing this will be a relief for both of us. You won't have to carry the stigma of having a murderer for a mother anymore, and you won't have to resent me for giving birth to you but not raising you. You can truly start your new life on your own. She finally understood that this time, I truly didn't want her anymore. I picked up the signed agreement and carefully put it away. There was no imagined sense of satisfaction in my heart, nor too much sorrow, only an unprecedented feeling of relief. Yes, relief. The shackles that had weighed on me for over a decade were finally completely lifted. I am not a perfect mother. I have acted impulsively, and I have longed for my maternal love to be reciprocated equally, but now, I no longer need it. On the second day of Sun Miao's university term, I packed my bags and moved out of the rental, without notice, without farewell. I left this city. I went to a small coastal town in the south, using the money I had saved before to take over a small flower shop. The pace of life here is slow, the climate is pleasant, and I wake up every morning to the sound of the waves. 4 years passed in the blink of an eye. That day, I received an anonymous package. Inside was a letter and a bank card. The letter contained only 3 words, "We're even." The balance on the card was exactly the amount I had paid for Sun Miao's 4 years of college tuition. She is still that same her, naively and selfishly thinking that this way she can repay everything. Fine, all settled. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.